Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Big Finish Fans. In today's Big Finish Fans, we're doing a second Doctor Extravaganza covering the Black Hole and Early Adventure and the latest second Doctor release, Beyond War Games. Once again, I'm joined with Luke.
Yes, hello everyone. And this is one that was voted for, well, not quite voted in the traditional sense, but you left enough likes on a video long ago. I think we said if this stream gets to 20 likes, we will finally do the Black Hole review. I think it was the what's the second first Doctor one we did.
It was the Forsaken and Revelli Conspiracy.
Yeah, we revisited those two early adventures, and quite a few people in the chat were saying, "Oh, go on, do Black Hole." And it's sort of become a bit of a meme for Ben because he's not a huge fan of the Rufus Hound monks. So, this is his debut, isn't it? So it was.
Yeah, it's quite interesting listening to his debut and that on how far he's pushed the character since. Really.
Yeah, we'll talk about that when we get to it, isn't it? But it's a bit more muted, isn't it? Not muted.
I guess it. Yeah.
In comparison to where it's gone, less theatrical. It's still got those elements there, but you can see it's expanded more so as time's gone on.
Yeah, I think that he's got more free reign now, I guess.
I suppose he's dipping his toes into it at first, but now he's happy to splash around in the deep end.
So we'll see what we think of that.
And of
later
course,
on.
Beyond War Games, the exciting new relaunch for the second Doctor. We got a bit of a preview in The Annihilators, which was my favourite release of the year so far, your second favourite, if you checked out our top 5 of the year so far. So, I suppose we had high hopes going into it, didn't we? We'll see whether they were matched or not.
Whether it's another sort of questionable relaunch release, we'll have to see. But I feel like we're on the same page for that, really.
Yeah, we shall see. We're a bit earlier tonight, aren't we?
Yeah, because I've got to jet off before the Time Lords catch me. So it should
can't stay in one place too long.
Can't stay in one place too. So I've got to jet off before I get put on trial.
Yeah. But shall we dive into the news straight away then?
Yes, let's dive into the news. What news have we got? One bit of news in particular, which I think we're all excited about, what we've wanted for a long time, which has happened this week, which is great.
Here we go. We have a kaleidoscopic adventure for the third Doctor.
Some decent cover art.
Really beautiful stuff. We had high hopes after the Annihilators, didn't we? And I think this exceeded them, really. I think maybe I prefer the Annihilators vibe overall as a whole cover, but they're both beautiful stuff. Can't wait to get this one in person, put it on the shelf. Have that Pertwee and goggles on the spine.
I hope that is the spine. I will be a little bit annoyed if it isn't. And it's like the Brigadier for some random reason. But it just feels like peak Pertwee cover. Like it just feels like, that's Pertwee's era distilled. And it feels very sort of comic book in a way, like TV action.
It's very...
Is it? I think it's Sub-Zero, a Dalek third Doctor comic. It reminds me a bit of that, really.
You got the Human Bill there too. It's debut in Big Finish Audio.
Didn't it debut in Terror of the Master?
Not quite, I don't think. It was mentioned, wasn't it?
Yeah.
They mentioned the Doctor having a test flight, but it's not actually there. Or is it actually? Debut in a full cast audio drama. Yeah, I feel like he's working on it in the debut in a full cast audio drama at least.
There we go.
I'm seeing those RAF planes in the top corner as well. It gives me Seeds of Doom vibes, like that little music cue that plays as they're flying along. And it's nice to see that after so long having the first version of the third Doctor titles always worked into the cover somehow, they've worked the second version, the tunnel as it were, onto in a different way than expected, with presumably that is Kaleidoscope himself, the man of the title, this space messiah.
It reminds me a bit of Kyle from The Mutants.
Oh.
You've not seen the mutant, so that's a bit of a
No, I haven't.
wasted
So I'm not
little
quite
thing.
sure what you get.
Oh no, is it Kai or Kyle? I think it's Kai. I want to say something with a K from memory.
Maybe.
But it reminds me a bit like that because he becomes a bit of a messiah at the end of it.
And
becomes quite colourful.
Yeah. They haven't revealed too much about this though, really. I think the only description is the Doctor, Sarah, and the Brigadier come into contact with a space messiah called Kaleidoscope. And six parts by Alan Barnes, which is that's the other thing we were asking for. Yeah.
Like, if you think most of Pertwee's era is 6 parts, so it feels like a bit of a no-brainer not to go for it, really.
Yeah, like with this new format, you might as well make the most of it and give us some 6-parters. So it's just Joe left now with it. Well, kind of Liz as well, but I don't think Liz never had a 6-parter, so 7's pretty much works the same way.
7 and 4, really, isn't it, for Liz?
Yeah. And she's had both, so
yeah.
Joe, I suppose Joe needs a 5-parter as well to get everything from her era.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. I suppose we can get 5-parters now. I think that is the joy of the relaunch, that we can have these different formats. I think that's the main takeaway I've took away from this 2020 relaunch.
Yeah, they're getting to play about a lot more with the stories and their lengths, aren't they? It's not like it has to fit a certain mold because this is the main range. It's got to be a 4-parter or something, or this is Fourth Doctor Adventure. It's got to be a 2-parter. They're allowed to be a lot more flexible, and are going to push that even more next year as we go into 3-part territory.
Which I think feels more like a callback to the 90s monthly range, because they started to explore like the 3-parters with like a bonus episode like ID and Urgent Calls and like Spiderweb and Death Collector, something like that.
Yeah.
So it feels like a bit of a throwback to that in a way.
That was like just after Nick Briggs took over as well, wasn't it? So that was very much him wanting to push things like that forward, and now he's finally got it in full, really, and living up to its full potential.
It feels like he's come full circle now, really, with this sort of Big Finish vision. Like, he's got his doctors in his own little area, so they're all in their own little pen, so they can't jump out and escape. And now he's starting to go, right, this is the format I want.
I think the one disappointing thing about seeing this cover, though, is thinking what we missed out on. We could have had Pertwee on a tea tray for the Volume 8 cover.
Oh, yeah, that would have been absolutely incredible. But I'm happy with the Volume 8 cover, to be fair. I do like it.
Yeah, it's a good cover.
I think I prefer it over the Volume 7 cover.
Oh, really? I think I prefer Volume 7 because it has more of that Season 7 grit. Yeah. But yeah, they're both very... I don't think the Third Doctor's had a bad cover, really.
Well, I think since we've moved... Well, Volume 5 is a bit questionable because you've got the floaty head.
Yeah, that's true. But everything else other than that is brilliant on that cover.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's the main exciting piece, I suppose. What we've had Bambera out. Yeah. You've listened to the first episode, haven't you?
Yeah, it definitely feels like everything they've done with Unit before is sort of a bit of a test run for Bambera, because I think when they got to Bambera, everything seems to be kicking off. They've got the tone right. It just seems all systems go, really, and I'm really liking the 90s feel to it.
Yeah, really you definitely get that across on all the stuff they put out so far. That wonderful video trailer they did for it. Yeah, I think that's there's that. That's very well done. I'm really excited to dive into this one. It's certainly been one of my most anticipated releases for a while now.
Because I love Battlefield. I don't know if it's a guilty pleasure because I don't know where people stand with Battlefield, but I think that it's a really good story.
Yeah, I have a very good time with Battlefield. I think it's not quite up to the height of, say, Remembrance of the Daleks by the same writer. It does feel a bit more messy than that, but I think particularly when you get into the movie version of it, that they did that movie edit for DVD, that's Battlefield at its best, and it's just a very good time.
See, I think I possibly prefer Battlefield at this current moment in time to Remembrance of the Daleks because I feel like Remembrance, I've sort of done it to death.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Like, maybe I prefer Battlefield a little bit at the minute. I don't know.
Yeah. You sort of, when you watch a story too many times, you sort of drift off while watching it, don't you?
Yeah.
Like, yeah. Ninth Doctor, Into the Stars, individual covers. Here we go.
Before we dive into that, we've got a comment from Necromancy. I really enjoyed Battlefield. It feels like the start of Seven becoming a game master at the end of a really campy humour, which is true. I think this is when you start to get really good McCoy. I think season 26 is the best of McCoy.
I think it's a really solid season opener as well, isn't it? It's like throwing you right in with the action. Yeah, good bit of mythology in there as well with the King Arthur stuff. And like you say, you got the more manipulative Seventh Doctor slightly, but it's more him being caught in his own later manipulations rather than him starting his own manipulations for the most part.
See, I feel like that's a Big Finish box set. Why we not touch the Merlin stuff? Like, get the Seventh Doctor, go to that alternative dimension. Have Bambera be like I will not say damsel in distress because that's not Bambera.
No.
But sort of that vibe would be nice.
Yeah. I mean, they did that 10th Doctor and Donna novel, didn't they? That I think is meant to be the sequel / prequel to that.
Which book's that? I'm trying to think.
It was one of the very recent ones. It's like the one where you got Tennant on a horse with the.
Oh, is it the Camel? Is it the Camelot one?
Yeah.
Return to Camelot.
Yeah,
I know which one you mean. Yeah, I've not read it. I've not got it.
No.
Ben
Jones says the Destroyer has to be the best looking makeup in Classic Who. I agree, very probably.
Oh yeah,
it's very high up there.
It feels like what Doctor Who would have been in the 90s. It feels like it belongs in Buffy the Vampire.
I mean, it's very much on the cusp of it, isn't it? And you do feel like we've been robbed by the show being cancelled just before it reached the 90s. And I think that's very much what Unit Brave New World is going for. It's like, what if Doctor Who had continued and then maybe got this Bambera spin-off?
And I think the second Bambera cover looks very 90s.
Yeah, that's true. Almost to a fault, isn't it?
Yeah, because he's got that. I don't want to say like bad CGI, but like the 90s were all about crazy.
It's about going for bigger than maybe your budget actually has available to it.
Yeah.
But shall we? Speaking of cover art, shall we get into the stars?
Yeah, let's do that.
So, I think I'm quite looking forward to the set now, having seen these covers. What one's your favourite of the three, would you say?
I think the third story with Jack Frost.
No. Yeah, I'd probably go for
I just think because... Oh, go on.
I was just going to say, I think Salvation 9 is probably my favourite, the first of the three. The Sontarans there. I'm looking forward to that story.
Is that the Sontaran one?
Yeah. TARDIS, as they say in the trailer.
I do like that. I do like that cover, but I think the middle one, you've got like an evil version of Shrek within it.
It's always like there's a mythological creature on each, because obviously you got Jack Frost, got like this orc type thing, and then a Sontaran is basically a troll or Humpty Dumpty, whichever way you look at it.
Yeah.
Yeah, you wonder if that's sort of like maybe as a theme for series 2, having like fairy tale-esque creatures, because we did have the Griminy Gru in Volume 1.
That'd be interesting. If it is that sort of theme we're getting with it, really.
We seem to have a spammer in the chat. How wonderful.
Oh, we love that. We love that interaction.
And I think, is that all the news? There's not really many articles out. I mean, UFO trailer. I don't think we're too fussed about that. Or the and the trailer for Torchwood Suckers.
No, can't say we are.
Are we suckers for Torchwood Suckers?
Do you enjoy that?
It wasn't a bad trailer, but I think I'll probably give that one a miss.
Okay.
Yeah, what about you? Did you listen to it?
I've not listened to it.
No.
Mainly because I'm not too fussed on the torture stuff, to be honest. But hey,
that's fair enough. Yeah, I mean, you're tempted by the new Ace one, though, aren't you?
Yeah, the Death in Venice one. I like the setting of Venice. I like Stones of Venice as well. So yeah, I might give that one a go. Just depends on the whole money situation, really.
That's fair enough. Yeah, we seem to be quite a few spammers. Maybe this is the price we pay for going on a bit earlier.
Yeah. Maybe people are just fans of Troughton, really.
Yeah, they're all flocking in to express their love for him. Necromantia says 9 would do great with a story based around extinction. Tried to save an enemy race from going extinct like the Time Lords, as he suspected at that point. Yeah, I mean, I suppose, well, that's not quite what they're doing with the Sontarans, is it? But that's sort of that thing of saving an enemy race. But yeah, that would certainly be something interesting to do there.
Yeah, I'll be down for that. Definitely down for that.
Yeah, maybe that can come in volume 4 of Series 2.
Yeah, maybe. Maybe that's like the big two-part finale, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, fingers crossed we get a big two-part finale.
Maybe they're UFO fans.
We're missing out on our two-parters, aren't we, at the moment with the Ninth Doctor? Excited for what's to come, but we love a two-parter.
Yeah.
Especially after the quality of the Series 4 finale.
We miss our two-parters.
Brian Smith says, enjoying the stream, ignore the moronic spammers. Thank you, Brian. We appreciate all you out there in the chat who are actually leaving intelligible comments.
Yeah, we appreciate your lurkers.
Yeah. I suppose. What do you want to do first? The Black Hole or Beyond War Games? Oh, Ben just seems to have dropped there. I'm not too sure what's going on, but yeah. Oh, yesterday says, why do people spam this channel? I don't understand. Well, yeah, I'm not too sure either. Really, it happens from time to time. I think a lot of it is just bots. Really, it's just the way they're programmed to act. Sadly, but hopefully we are past the worst bit now. Welcome back, Ben.
Thank you.
Well, did you have a bit of a drop there?
Yeah, the connection just randomly dropped.
Yeah, I was just asking whether you wanted to start with Beyond War Games or go for the Black Hole first.
Should we do it chronologically?
Yeah, can do.
No, let's start with Beyond War Games. Actually, that makes sense.
Yeah, I think so.
Let's do the recent one. Yeah.
The main event that people are here for, and then maybe we'll surprise. Well, I say main event. Maybe since we got the 20 likes, people are more excited to hear our thoughts on the Black Hole. Do you still hate it, or could it? Could it surprise us?
If there are any stories you want us to review, pop it down in the old chat, and we'll see which one gets voted, and we'll see which one is a popular choice. We'll go from there.
Yeah, I suppose Beyond War Games, 2 4-parters, but not quite.
It's very deceiving, isn't it?
Yeah, like it makes you think that it's going to be evenly split, but no. Wrath of the Ice Warriors, the second story, is more than twice as long as the Final Beginning, the first story, despite it being both being 4-parters.
It's a very cheeky 4-parter.
Yeah, it's like 15 minutes per part, really.
I think the longest is 16 minutes.
Yeah, and then the shortest is about 4. 14, I mean, not 4. Oh,
yeah.
Necromantia says, I'd love to see you review Across the Darkened City. Took me a while to get to it in my marathon, but it blew me away. Yeah, that has another little tie to the same story that this first story in Beyond War Games ties to, funnily enough.
Oh yeah, that's a nice little link. Forgot about. Yeah, that's cool. Yeah.
But, I mean, well, it's Evil of the Daleks. It's not exactly hidden in the marketing for this first story. It's very much not quite, I suppose, a sequel, really, but not quite. It's not a Dalek story, I'd say. It's got the Daleks there. They're a presence in it, but they're more of like a natural threat rather than they don't have a plan or anything as such, do they?
It's more sort of, I guess, a bit like Restoration of the Daleks. They're sort of slowly coming back.
Yeah, it's similar to a lot of Time War stories, really, isn't it? They're more window dressing. This is very much the story to set up what is going on with the Second Doctor, why he isn't the Third Doctor at this point, and what's going on with his life following his trial. And he's thrown in the story.
Yeah, because that's where the story literally kickstarts. We get the Second Doctor, I guess, spinning and falling on this snowy planet with these sort of whirlwinds where there's nice little sound clips of Tim. It makes sense why Tim Trelaw's in this story because you get him voicing bits from season 7, like right, cut it open, and bits from like the Silurians and all that stuff. So it's all lovely. So it's all happened like concurrently for the Doctor, I would say.
Yeah, it's like echoes of his future in a way, but because of how this is worked in, it's almost echoes of his concurrent present as well, isn't it? It's like he's, as he says in the 2 Doctors, I'm just a temporal anomaly. Oh no, it's 3 Doctors, isn't it? He says that.
Yeah.
At least it wasn't 5. I got.
Yeah, I mean, you've got 3 chances to get it right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, how did you feel about the explanation for this? Because they sort of kept it a bit close to their chest, didn't they, until the set came out? They would say like, "Oh, we'll do it differently than it's been done before with the season 6B stuff."
I didn't mind it, to be honest. I thought it was all right. Like it feels like very in keeping with what we got with season 6B of Time Lord sending the Doctor off on these missions.
It felt rather in keeping with something like Genesis as well.
Yeah.
Like you can imagine the character of Raven being in that same weird, like, black get-up, can't you?
Yeah, you definitely can see that with like Raven being this sort of mysterious character who you're not quite sure what to make of, and then you've got these other 2 characters, well, Tim Trelaw and another character.
Yeah, Katuna, isn't it?
Yeah,
I think Tim Trelaw. I can't remember his character. Silas.
Yeah. I thought we'd get some. I expected this story to be a little bit different to what I thought it would. I thought we'd get like Silas being the spitting image of the Third Doctor, and that would explain how we got John's face. But it still could be. We just don't know because like the individual cover art, but it doesn't sound like Pertwee at all.
Certainly didn't get his voice, did he?
No, he didn't get the voice in that. So who knows? That could be a part of it, but I just don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I quite like those 2 characters. They're like these prospectors, aren't they, who have got trapped on this planet?
Yeah,
and they're quite likable, quite salt of the earth, I suppose.
Yeah,
I mean,
but I think Michael Troughton does a really good job within this one.
Yeah, so he's like the main drawing factor, I suppose. But yeah, he does a wonderful job capturing the essence of the Second Doctor. And I think he's getting better and better as he plays it more and more. He was off to a good start with the Annihilators, but here you can feel him really getting into the character so much more. And there are times where you just mistake him for it. Once you get into that flow of it, you don't hear Michael anymore, really, do you?
I think he's got the mannerisms down. Like he's got that bubbliness of Troughton. I think he's got the energy. You definitely get I feel like you get the energy more in Wrath of the Ice Warriors when he's like getting on the Ice Warriors little submarine thing.
Yeah, you can imagine a lot more of the physical comedy as he's like sneaking around the Ice Warriors and stuff. It's like they're distract, or like similar to I think it's the Ice Warriors story itself on TV when one of them goes right up to him and he's like leaning back a bit and is all, oh, you can imagine that sort of visual in Wrath of the Ice Warriors as well.
Is it? I think. Oh no, I'm trying to remember which story where he gets sort of shot at.
Evasion.
And you get the invasion. It happens in this one of these big finish
it
stories
happens
as well.
in Wrath of the Ice Warriors.
That's uncanny. I was like, that's Troughton. Even when he's sort of spinning towards the snowy planet, I was like, that's proper Troughton. I can hear Patrick Troughton.
He's doing a magnificent job, and I think
because
we were sort of concerned at first a bit about this because we'd had Fraser for so long and he'd been doing such a good job. It felt almost redundant getting a different actor in, especially when you had Fraser alongside Michael anyway. But hearing him, you really do see why they went for this, why they made this change. And no offense to Fraser, because he has been doing a wonderful job with the Second Doctor all this time. But I think there's something there that Fraser didn't quite always get. I think Fraser does very well with the much more quieter, brooding moments of the Second Doctor, whereas Michael gets more of the energy a lot of the time.
It's normally when you have these sort of recasts, you lose their voice when you have to do like the little chuckle or a laugh, because that's when your natural voice comes through, because you can't really train your voice to have a different laugh. And I think for me, that's when I get proper Troughton in those little chuckles, really.
Yeah.
And I think it was interesting going back to the Black Hole and then, from Beyond War Games and seeing the difference between those two. And you're definitely right that there is more of an energy in Michael's performance to Fraser. I think, like you say, Fraser's more of the quiet, like thinking, like the yes, Jamie, those type of moments. Whereas, it's clap your hands, Michael Troughton moments. Really, it's all good.
Yeah, that's true. But Michael does also do very well with those quieter moments as well. It's not like one's good at one thing and one's good at the other. I think they both do a good whole round job. But I can certainly see Michael has a bit more range when it comes to, I suppose, when it comes to playing the Second Doctor. Because I think with Fraser particularly, there are times where you hear him slip, but you forgive it.
Yeah. It was interesting. I don't want to bash Fraser because I love Fraser Hines dearly, but listening to the recent Dalek Companion Chronicle with what Fraser does for narration and stuff, it was very hard to distinguish his Troughton to his Jamie. And I was like, he's let it go a bit there.
I wonder if it's maybe because they've dropped the narration as well. There's nothing like distinguishing the two in the middle, so he is often having long conversations with
maybe
himself.
the narration was a bit of a gear change for him to go Dr. Jamie.
I mean, he always used to be very good at that, and still is for the most part, but you can certainly hear it slipping a bit more recently.
But still does a good job.
Maybe you heard the news that Michael is going to be playing the role in football. It's not worth it now.
So I'll just get my paycheck. All right.
He's still a professional. He's still putting the effort in, doing wonderfully. I think he enjoys working with Michael as well. You can hear it when you listen to the Annihilators on the extras there, I think.
Maybe that's why he went full out in the Annihilators, because the Annihilators, I swear, is Fraser's best performance in any Doctor Who.
I can't wait to get him back in Second Doctor Adventures range, because that's very much where we're heading now.
There's not really much you can say about. Hold on.
Yesterday says captures Second Doctor's energy really well. Yes, he certainly does. Necromantia says, I think Fraser had a tendency to be quite a calm Second Doctor rather than eccentric. Yes, that's very true.
Fraser likes adding like the little coughs.
Yeah, I think so. He sort of like he likes that the hat playing with his hands in front of his face as well, doesn't he? And I think when he's talking about that in video interviews, you see him doing that when he's channeling Patrick. Necromancer says, I wasn't sold on Michael from the trailers, but I hear he sounds fantastic in the box sets. Yeah, that's very true. I think with trailers, because you're only getting small snippets spread across, you don't really get a chance to gear into the voice properly. So you're scrutinizing it much more compared to Patrick's original portrayal. But when you're listening to it, when you're getting into the character a lot more, that's when I think you really feel the character and really hear it.
Yeah, we were quite. I would say we were quite harsh on like the Annihilator trailer because like that's not the second Doctor at all. But then you hear him in motion, you're like, this is really, really good.
And I think often you forget. I think because with Big Finish, we're so used to Fraser's, we're almost more listening out for Fraser's take on the second Doctor when we're listening to an audio trailer than we are for Patrick's original Doctor.
Yeah, and it's interesting, isn't it? Because again, I think Troughton, again, much like Hartnell's got such a varied performance, really.
Yeah, definitely. Like we say, from the eccentric moments to the quieter, calmer moments. And I mean, there are times where it sounds almost like he's chewing a bit of gum or something, doesn't it? Like Patrick, I mean, in the original. And I think Michael channels those moments quite well too.
Yeah, for sure.
Hello, Stardust person. Thank you for joining us. Rufus Hound time. Yes, you've not missed out on Rufus Hound yet. We are just talking about Beyond War Games now, and then we will be getting into the Black Hole, so stay tuned. But yeah, I suppose, what is it? The first story, the final beginning, it's called.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's not much you can say about it, because it's like a nice quick listen, what just flies by, because it's a nice short length. There's nothing too much to it. It just sets up the arc and the journey. And that's all it is, really. The Daleks are great for what they're in it, but they're not in it that much.
Yeah, there's certainly a lot of mystery there that's not revealed yet because it's connected to the arc. And so I think a lot of it's going to come down to how that ends up resolving.
I think that's the most things with these sort of relaunch boxes where you sort of have to enjoy the journey because we're only like first box sets in to get where they're going with it, really.
Yeah,
I mean, how long would you want this to go on for? Like, how many box sets are you willing to commit to Beyond War Games?
I'm not sure, really, because I'd like a whole era of Second Doctor stuff in this time frame. But also with the arc, I don't want that to go on itself too long. Like, I want the answers fairly soon because it's quite intriguing. So it's like it's working out a way.
4 box sets, really. I don't know.
Yeah.
Is that too short? 10.
Hopefully they'll get up to a couple of box sets a year as well, because as it is at the moment with 1 a year, it's going to take a long time for the arc to resolve if it is 10 box sets.
Because I'm just wondering how long is it going to take before it gets a bit repetitive going, Raven, what have you said be here? You know, I don't know.
Yeah, I hope there's a way to mix it up a bit, really.
Yeah, maybe he gets like there's a box where he goes rogue. I don't know.
Yeah,
where he sort of escapes that. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe that could be where it's going after this arc's resolved. We then like have a second arc where it's the second Doctor going rogue and such before he gets caught up with again, maybe.
And becomes a fugitive Doctor. I don't
know. Yeah, that's
maybe that's the thing. We don't know. It could lead into Joe Martin stuff.
Yeah, that's true.
We'll just have to see.
Yeah, Stylus says, I've still got 1 episode of the final beginning to listen to, but so far it's my all-time favourite Big Finish audio. Wow.
Oh, wow.
Michael Troughton is brilliant. Yes, he is. I love the side characters. Yeah, they're pretty great. I love the mystery and the pacing. Yeah, the pacing's interesting for this 4-parter in quotation marks, I suppose. It feels to me almost like an early 2000s web exclusive kind of thing. If you get what I mean.
Yeah.
Like just I see that. Like a little serial they put out once a week or something. It has that vibe to it. Not just in format, but also in the way it's told. I suppose because maybe its connection to Evil of the Daleks, you can almost imagine it on the old website.
Yeah, I mean, you can imagine it with like a little photo novel as well, like a little snap reconstruction. Well, yeah, I can see that.
Yeah. But I mean, what would you give it out of 10?
I'd go 7.5.
No, I think I'd go 8.
Okay.
I did have a good time with it. Yeah.
I'm just thinking of, do I prefer, another story on this list to this? But I think that it's a real strong opener for the series.
I think it does.
Great mystery.
Yeah. It does what it's very much set out to do. It ticks all the boxes that it wanted to.
I feel like I need to revisit it because I think I had like such a grand idea in my head of what I wanted it to be. Because I expected it to be a bit more of a claustrophobic story in a way, with them sort of huddled on this sort of spaceship in the snow. And yeah, it was a different story in my head to what we actually got.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing. They were quite they kept a lot of it close to their chest with this story, didn't they? It wasn't clear quite what it was about, and even listening to it, it does sort of feel a bit directionless in those first 2 parts before you finally realise this is what we're doing with it.
But you just enjoy it because you're like, oh, it's Michael Troughton. It's wrong to say finding his feet because that was the Annihilators in a way, but this is proper. Okay, we're off now with Michael.
Yeah. Would you like more 4-parters in this format?
I would say yeah, because they just went quite nice and digestible about them. But you can just stick it on and go, oh, it's like Return of the Cybermen. That's one reason why I really like that story because it just flies by so quickly. It's nice, short, snappy 4-parter.
Yeah,
and same with the Annihilators as well.
Yeah,
the 7-parter, but it doesn't drag because the parts aren't overly long.
I definitely want more stories where the part length is like 20, 25 minutes at most. Because at the moment we're getting like 30, 35, and sometimes that does drag a bit. Whereas here, where it is these 4 15-minute parts, I feel like it's quite easy to listen to it in one go, like more so than it would be if it was just one long 1-hour episode. Because it is broken up into those digestible chunks, when you get to the end of the first 15 minutes, you think, oh, it's only another 15 minutes. I might as well just go for it. It's like it's bite-sized too, isn't it? It's easy to get through, and before you know it, you've eaten the whole box.
Yeah. It's like when you have a box of chocolates. Oh, one more's not gonna hurt. Yeah. But I think I enjoy it. I think it's like when you get the miniature, it's like, oh, it's a 2-parter, but then you get like it's massive, isn't it? It's like 36 minutes.
Yeah, miniaturist is longer than this one.
Wow. Because because it's a 4-parter, you get excited to get, oh, it's this nice little traditional slice of Doctor Who. But I like that it's experimenting with what we know is a 4-parter is, really. I like that.
Yeah. I mean, Stylish One says, what you consider directness, I consider the mystery slowly unraveling. I love the build-up and the way Raven is mysterious. Everything about this story is gold. Best finish audio I've heard. Wow. I'm glad you're really getting a lot out of this one, Stylish One.
I mean, it's a solid one. It's a solid one.
Yeah, I feel like it'll improve on re-listen for me as well.
I think once you get the context of where the arc's going as well, I think it's going to be one of those ones where you're like, I want to marathon it now.
Yeah, it'll certainly be interesting going back to it as well after a couple of box sets down the line, depending on where things are going. But on the other end of the spectrum, Wrath of the Ice Warriors, we have a lot longer 4-parter here. I mean, part 3 is 37 minutes or so.
Yeah. Andrew Smith likes his chunky story.
Yeah, you almost wish they'd sort of followed in a similar direction to the final beginning and done it like a 6-parter maybe, or even an 8-parter at that shorter length.
I mean, a 6-parter would be more in keeping for the Ice Warriors, really.
Yeah, I think. And also, I think then when you look at what you're getting, you'll feel more like, okay, this is a 6-parter, this is a 4-parter. That means this 6-parter is going to be longer. Whereas when you look at the box set and you see 2 4-parters, you think, oh, it's a evenly split one.
Yeah.
So it feels less deceptive, I suppose.
Yeah, because that was one of the major things with this is like, how are they going to squeeze this all on a disc? And then you realise, oh, that's how we've done it.
Yeah, not quite the way we expected, but not a way we necessarily mind. But I mean, I think as well, because when we saw this before we listened to it, how it was broken up, we were much more excited for the Ice Warrior story, weren't we? So we were happy that that was going to be longer and have more time to breathe. But do we feel the same having listened to it?
No.
No, this was a disappointment, sadly.
It's a real shame because if we look back to, I think, 2018, 2019, and even 2020, actually, Andrew Smith was just, he benefits the longer format. He doesn't suit the hour-long format. You know, you have Hour of the Cybermen, which this story uses elements from, which I think Hour of the Cybermen uses better. Emissary of the Daleks, he's very good at the sort of summer blockbuster audios, and like Return to Skaro, he gets the authentic feel. Like, you know, he said that the second Doctor is his favourite Doctor, but I think there's a danger when you have your favourite Doctor, because I'd hate to write for John because I'd want to throw everything at it in the kitchen sink, and I feel like this story sort of feels like he's trying, and it almost feels like a bit like an autopilot as well.
Which is a shame because, like we say, we had high hopes for this one. And it just feels like Andrew Smith can do a lot better than, sadly, what we ended up getting here with this one.
I'll be honest, for me, part 3 is when the actual story kicks and I start to go, oh, I'm actually enjoying this now. When we actually get to the Ice Warrior little underwater base, I was like, this is really good. It's got some nice atmospheric moments, like the start. Very sort of Terror of the Zygon-esque. I really like that with like Scar rising from the water. Great visuals in that sense.
Yeah, like those opening moments. I love the music as well. Very Scotland, I suppose. You got the bagpipes, haven't you?
That just establishes the scene, like, oh right, we're in Scotland again.
Yeah, but you can very much imagine that bleak Cape Wrath landscape, can't you?
Yeah.
And having Unit there. I love the Unit helicopter coming down to greet the Doctor. I like that they didn't waste time with the Brigadier and the Doctor meeting in this story, because it's not, I think it's like part 2 in the invasion where they meet up, whereas here it's like right within the first 10 minutes they're united. You sort of get those invasion vibes with the Doctor begins the story by noticing a fleet just orbiting Jupiter, doesn't he? Before heading to Earth.
It's Alandra? Yeah, it's Alandra, isn't it?
Yeah, played by Katie Manning. And that is perfect casting. Like, as soon as we saw she was playing an Ice Warrior, you thought, yes, there is no way that can be a bad thing. And it really wasn't. She is brilliant in the role.
It's like the little behind the scenes video they posted, like, oh, she's given it her all. And like, it just shows how versatile Katie Manning is. If you didn't know how versatile Katie is, you're going to know by listening to this story. Because like the Scorchies is another example. I just think Katie Manning's such a versatile voice artist.
Yeah. I think also...
I think she's a highlight for me, actually. I think she's the highlight of the story for me.
It's a shame she's only in the second half of it, really. But I think she's not the only one who's playing an Ice Warrior other than Nicholas Briggs in this, because I believe Mark Elstop also voices an Ice Warrior.
Oh, Scar was brilliant.
Yeah, I loved his striking up a friendship with the Brigadier.
And especially when they're sort of escaping, and he's like, that is not reciprocated because of martial law. Yeah, it's like, oh, yeah. I'll have you in my squad.
Yeah.
Figure of speech, old bean.
Yeah. I think, but yeah, there was moments like that where I was really enjoying this story. You can imagine the 60s-ness of it, similar to the Daleks when they are trying to break through into the room with the cutting. You could sort of imagine that same sort of scenario with the Ice Warriors.
Yeah.
I mean, I think the story treats the Brigadier really well. And like, there's quite a few strategic, intelligent moments from him rather than just blundering in military might. I think it serves the Brigadier well.
There was a part of me what feels like, oh, this is a bit of a juxtaposition with like the Brigadier's character, because you think in like 2 stories' time he's going to be blowing up a whole society of blooming Silurians.
But in that instance, at least,
I enjoyed
the Silurians are much more aggressive, aren't they? In the Brigadier's experience.
I guess Scar's got his own little mission. He's like, all right, okay, the Ice Warriors are going to deal with Zalandra. I just want him off my world and have a little bit of a bromance with him at this point.
But yeah, I know what you mean. There are when it comes to the Brigadier and sort of like events that happen to him in this story, it feels like it doesn't quite line up with where things are going in the Pertwee era. Particularly in part 4, there's something that happens with the Brigadier that feels a bit too out there for this point in his life.
Yeah.
But I think there's also a wonderful moment at the end where he finally sees the TARDIS dematerialize. Because he never got to see that in the Invasion or the Web of Fear, so here he gets his first time at that. And it sort of, it works out because in the third Doctor era, sorry, we never really get that. It was not until Colony in Space where the Doctor shoots off and the Brigadier is very blasé about. He's just
come back at
once. And like when the third Doctor goes into his TARDIS in Spearhead from Space, it's very, we won't be seeing him again. So it's like he has seen it before, and now we have that told. But then there's other things which I don't want to get into too much because that'll spoil it.
But then I'm just thinking back on like my earlier point about the Brig being a bit questionable with Scar. Is that when he sees Liz in Spearhead from Space, when she's like, "Oh, little green men from Mars," and like you've got that smugness of the Brig. I'm like, well, maybe that's Scar. He's thinking back to Scar. I don't know.
Yeah, it's fond memories.
Yeah, I don't know.
But it's nothing too egregious, but at the same time, it's little things where you're like, are they pushing this a bit too far?
It's just your fan brain goes on overload trying to think, how does that work in the grand schemes of canon? Like, canon shouldn't matter at this point. You should just accept what you believe at this point. But there is that part nagging thing going, well, doesn't quite line up, does it?
But yeah, I suppose. Also, did it feel much like a second Doctor story to you?
No.
Me neither, really.
It didn't feel like authentic second Doctor. And I know that Mark Wright said he wanted to sort of blend it into sort of the more unit days. And I don't feel like it matches any era, which I guess is a compliment for Beyond War Games because it's trying to be its own little thing.
Yeah,
but I expected this to be more like, what if the second Doctor was in season 7? And I didn't get that with this.
I was just expecting something more along the lines of Web of Fear or The Invasion, where you have, not quite unit in Web of Fear, but close enough to it, versus these known threats of the Yeti and the Cybermen. This is like the big three of the Troughton era, isn't it? Yeti, Cybermen, and Ice Warriors. And so here we were getting, and here we were getting unit facing the Ice Warriors, but it never really quite feels like it. And ultimately, most of what this story does, if not all of it, is done better elsewhere. Sadly.
I don't think the Ice Warriors suit contemporary Earth as well.
No, I agree. I think they more suit futuristic style stories.
That's what makes God of War, the Fifth Doctor 41, sting even more, because that's like the perfect setting for an Ice Warrior story.
Although that's back in the past, but even so, that would have worked very well with the Vikings, isn't it?
Yeah,
having the space Vikings crossing path with the real Vikings.
You can imagine like the ambush being like a bit like Seeds of Death, when it's sort of an Ice Warrior sort of trundling around the park. I can sort of imagine like the crash zoom on the Ice Warriors as it ambushes them.
Yeah, I think ultimately the problem is it's trying to be something more than a usual invasion of Earth story, because that's very much what the Weather Fear and the Invasion are. I mean, it's literally called the Invasion. And so what you have here is something that tries to keep you guessing. But I think maybe this style of story at this point would have just been better served being a standard Ice Warriors try to invade Earth.
Which I think would be fine, actually. I think play it to the era's strengths, really.
And I think what's odd as well when you listen to the behind the scenes and hear them justifying this in that, well, the Brigadier says there've been 2 attempts to invade Earth since UNIT was formed, and so technically they say since Web of Fear is before UNIT was formed, or at least it was as far as they knew it back then, because then Survivors of the Flux came along and sort of threw a spanner in the works there. Then you've got, they have their argument of, well, this is the second time that the Doctor helped save the world while UNIT was formed. But there's not actually an invasion of Earth here to justify that. So then it sort of does, it leaves it in a bit of a weird situation.
Sorry, I'm just eating pizza. Sorry.
That's fine. Yeah, got
to hear me munching, that's why.
Well, what toppings you got?
I think it's just like a pepperoni, so it's nice, plain and simple.
Fair enough. Yeah, nothing wrong with that. Like we say with this, this should have been an invasion story. Nothing wrong with keeping it simple.
Exactly. I think it would have been nice to have a bit more of a base under siege feel to it, really.
Yeah, that's it. That would have been helped very much with the 60s tone of the set, but
like, don't we go to like a lighthouse, don't we?
Yeah, and there's wonderful moments like that. But like I say in the fact that there are other stories that do things like that better. Earlier this year, you have the Ravencliff Witch.
Yeah.
Which very much has that similar feel with the bleakness of the beach and lighthouse setting for that bit. But
more on that next week, I guess.
Yeah, we'll be getting into that. And I think it's already known that we both quite like that one because that was 3rd place on my list last week. And I think it didn't quite crack your list, did it? But you're a big fan.
It was close to it. It was close.
Yeah. Stylish Person says, I've just realised that Laird and McCrimmon could now be made as a season 6B audio if they decide to end the arc, which hopefully they don't do for a while. Yeah. I mean, yeah, hopefully, even if it's not that, a Yeti story would be good at some point, the Second Doctor. But at the same time, we've just had Daleks and Ice Warriors. I don't want to be getting into, and I want the next box set to be fresh. No returning monsters, please.
I mean, the only time we've really had the Yeti on audio, I guess, is the countermeasure. Like, if you really want to be pedantic, Secrets of Death's End.
Yeah. They've certainly not really used them to their full potential yet.
I'd be down for like an early adventure with the Yeti, but I don't think that's ever going to happen now. But yeah, I think Beyond War Games is best time to get a Yeti story with Troughton, or even a season 7 Yeti story. Play into that Radio Time photo shoot.
Yeah. Well, I think they would also suit the Hinchcliffe era.
Yes, yeah, that's the point, yeah.
There's no shortage of places that the Yeti can pop up.
Necromantier says, back?
Yeah, Necromantier says they could end season 6B with Second seeing his future and realizing he must face exile. Funny enough, they do sort of play into that a bit, don't they, here?
Yeah, they do.
Because he knows what his future is, actually. He's given a glimpse of it in the first story. And
it's really sad.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
And so they're hanging that over him, aren't they? To say, if you stop working for us, we'll just send you here to live out this.
But then you get a nice little line, I'm no James Bond. Oh, you will. You will be. Give it time.
Yeah. I think it works out nicely with the Annihilators now. And I do look forward to going back to that at some point now, having the context for Beyond War Games. Because there's that line about enjoy your exile and stuff, isn't there? So you can tell why he's smug, because he's almost on a different path at this point, away from that future.
I think just thinking about it just made me enjoy the Annihilators even more, actually. I just feel like, wasn't that marvellous?
Yeah. I think that's the thing. With the Annihilators, we know that this new Second Doctor era can give us some great stuff, and Michael Troughton is wonderful in the role. So I'm excited to see where this goes after this box set. I just don't think this was as solid a start as maybe it could be.
I don't know if it's a misfire box set, because again, it's like we've got a whole arc to see where it goes, a whole series. But I think it's one of those things where don't overhype it. Because I still enjoyed it, but I think there was a lot of hype on it because it was the first one where we had a proper title for it beyond War Games. A lot of people are invested in Season 6B, with like the Terrence Dicks novels like World Game Players. And I think there's an award I'm probably missing. Yeah.
I think, is it Home Troops? I've seen that mentioned in the chat a couple of times.
That's a companion chronicle with Sarah Kingdom of the Daleks Massacre, which again, very good companion chronicle. So I'm glad that the chat's loving Home Troops because it is a phenomenal one. And even the Sontarans, that's another great early adventure.
Yeah, that's one of my favourites, the early adventures.
Yeah. What would you give Wrath of the Ice Warriors, actually?
I think a 6. How about you?
I wanna say 8. I still enjoyed it. I think I enjoyed it more than the final beginning.
Ah, really?
But it took a while for me to properly click with it, really.
I think I enjoyed parts of Wrath of the Ice Warriors more than the final beginning, but at the same time, there are other parts of it that I enjoyed a lot less. I feel like I kept flip flopping with it. It never.
I think once I clicked with it, I was fine.
It just took a while to actually click.
Or maybe just I'm getting bad at listening to Big Finish.
Beyond War Games overall,
I would say a promising start. Like there's potential there, you can see it. It's just that the elements haven't quite knitted together yet. But I can see that there's a lot of promise within it, and I mix it much like the Stephen Noonan stuff. I really enjoyed that, and there's a lot of promise going forward, and I can't wait to expand on it more. Really,
it's a good proof of concept, isn't it?
Yeah,
with both sets. And so it's just seeing working into their strengths more in future.
Yeah, and I think, are we going to get a new producer for it, and Mark Wright stepping back?
Yeah, it seems to be the case. I don't know whether that'll be after the next set. Maybe it depends how far along they are. They're certainly in the extras for the final beginning. Nick mentioned that Mark Wright would be stepping away from this.
It should be interesting to see if like Nick Briggs takes over, because I know he's quite into this, really.
Yeah, he's the script editor, isn't he?
So I can see Nick taking over, which I think would be an interesting choice because, you know, Second Doctor, again, is his favourite Doctor.
Yeah, he's very much got his hands all over the first 3 Doctors at the moment, hasn't he?
I mean, he's done wonders with Tim.
You
know, I think
he's got quite a close friendship with Stephen Noonan as well.
Friend of a channel, Stephen Noonan.
Yeah, there we go.
we love our Stephen Noonan here.
Yeah. Bit on the whole, looking forward to seeing where it was going, but could have done certain things better. Did quite a few things very well, though.
Oh, yeah.
And I mean, Michael Troughton, wonderful, doing so well as the Second Doctor.
I think he's probably the main takeaway from this box set to go, all right, the Second Doctor's in safe hands, because I think Fraser Hines, there's a lot of loyalty for Fraser Hines, and rightly so.
I mean, we certainly felt that when Michael was first announced, really, didn't we? And even before that, when you kept having people fan casting different actors as the Second Doctor, we were like, but not Stephen. Fraser's right there.
But yeah, I think it's a clever way of getting around people being a bit edgy with recast, using, you know, keeping it in the family, really, I think.
Yeah. I mean, some people will always complain about it, but at the end of the day, there's enough Big Finish out there for everyone.
Yeah, that's the main takeaway.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, just looking forward to see where Michael goes next. And it'll be nice having Fraser in the next set, because certainly we're heading towards being reunited with Jamie. We've seen that in The Annihilators, that does happen. So it's not exactly a huge spoiler as to where things are heading. But yeah, I think that's when he'll start to feel like the second Doctor even more, because it's hard to imagine a second Doctor without Jamie, really, isn't it?
Yeah. You can't have one without the other, really.
Yeah. And so they spent a bit of time away from each other again, but it looks like they'll be pretty swiftly reunited. And I'm excited to see how that plays out. Because like we say, we've had a hint at it in the Annihilators. So
maybe that's why we like the Annihilators, not because it's Tim or Third Doctor, but I think because there's more of that's what the second Doctor's all about, because you've got Fraser there to bounce off Michael.
Yeah. It also feels like it's already got past the growing pains of Beyond War Games, even though it was done before.
Yeah, I feel that.
Yeah, weird way to put it, but
I mean, completely right.
I suppose, shall we go from one Season 6B explanation to a possible other?
Yes,
the black hole.
Yeah. Now, if you don't like Season 6B, you'll like the black hole.
It doesn't quite cover the 5 Doctors, though, but
it explains the TARDIS and all. I don't think it explains Troughton's grey hair.
No, I think that was one thing they couldn't quite work into it, but fair enough. We just sort of hand wave that away, don't we?
Yeah.
Or Jamie looking a fair bit older.
Maybe it's for time dilation with the black hole. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe. Maybe it's who knows? But
let's have to see.
But it certainly explains most other things, like you say, with the different TARDIS and such in the 2 Doctors.
remote.
Yeah. And it all feels quite natural the way it's played into the black hole.
Yeah.
Maybe that. Yeah, I think that's it really. With the grey hair, it's like it almost would have felt too forced to say.
It feels more. I guess it just feels like a bit like a cannon plaster. I don't know.
Yeah.
To put it in a nice simple term.
It's funny how they even work graphology in very well. Like that's actually a fairly big plot point. Yeah. What's it? The Black Hole, an early adventure from 2016. Is it now, or 15?
Is it 15? I want to say.
Yeah, 15 it is.
Yeah.
From the first series of Second Doctor ones, second series overall.
Quite a strong series, actually, looking back on it.
Yeah, so this was the Yes Men, The Forsaken, which we reviewed a couple of months back, and this, The Black Hole, and then finally ending off with the Iceforce Network with the Cybermen.
So we've technically reviewed half of this series by the end of tonight.
Yeah, that's true. So we'll have to get around to the Yes Men and the Iceforce Network at some point, maybe.
Again, chat, if you want us to review any Big Finish story, pop it in the chat, and we'll do it. We're doing another little fan poll.
Yeah.
Within reason.
We'll have a consideration.
Yeah.
Because Big Finish has a huge back catalogue. We have a fair chunk, but there are certainly quite a few we've not got as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, so the Black Hole opens with the Second Doctor, Jamie, and Victoria. This is the only early adventure to feature Deborah Watling, sadly, because I don't know whether she passed away before they could get to Series 4, or if she wasn't well enough to record for it.
I mean, it's quite Victoria-like, this story anyway.
Yeah, like she's hardly in part 3.
Yeah.
Certainly when it comes to actors' voices aging, I think hers is one of the worst examples.
Yeah, it's wrong to be cruel with that, but yeah, I think Deborah Watling definitely doesn't sound like a younger counterpart, I guess, and yeah.
I mean, she tries, and I think you have to just, similar with the Doctor's grey hair in the 2 Doctors, you just have to hand wave it away. Really, as it is just actors are getting older. At the end of the day, this is a production, and so some little discrepancies like that will sneak in. But yeah, I think once you get like over that initial weirdness of it in the first 10 minutes, I think you accept that Victoria's there. She's still embodying the character very well.
No screaming within this.
No.
But yeah, this was an interesting one to revisit. This one, the black hole, because I think I think I've been quite vocal in the past few years, ever since it came out, that it hasn't been one of my favourites. Maybe it's been one of my least favourites. I have no idea. So I was sort of dreading revisiting this one. I think we both were. I think we can both say.
Yeah, I think it sort of became a joke for us, didn't it, that we had to revisit it at some point now.
Yeah.
Because it had been voted for. It's like, oh, we got no way out of it.
Better do it.
Yeah. When we were choosing stories for the poll, when we did the previous 2 early adventures, we said, let's not include black hole as an option because it's going to get chosen and we're going to have to listen to
it. But I have to say, I'm really pleasantly surprised and say, you know what? I don't get why I didn't like it.
Same here. I had a really good time with this one. I mean, kind of spoiler for our rankings coming up, but I enjoyed it more than both episodes in Beyond War Games, ultimately. I mean, maybe it's just coming off of the back of that, like wanting some better second Doctor. I don't want to say good because Beyond War Games was good, but I wanted something a bit more from a second Doctor story, and this gave me something more from a second Doctor story. Necromantia says Victoria is way too traumatized by the black hole to scream. Yeah, that's very true. She has a interesting experience where she doesn't exist for a period, doesn't she? Because of the weird effects of it.
Which is a really cool idea, really cool little thing. And I think this story, it utilized Simon Gurrier. He just knows how to use narration beautifully. Like for me,
narration performed by David Warner, wonderful.
Which he feels like such an oddball choice because the other ones are done by the cast members like Fraser Hines, Wendy Padbury, all those lovely people. But I think having David Warner, it makes the other character like Fraser Hines and Deborah Watling more immersed in the actual story than focusing on like the narration. It feels like 2 separate entities, so it's more like let's focus on the performances with these 2 characters and let David Warner with his lovely tones tell us what's going on with like the setting and the world building.
Yeah, it's very colourful narration, isn't it? As well.
Yeah, really is.
It's nice how it's not narrate. It is still an audio, isn't it? It's not an audio book. The narration does pause at times and let the audio landscape tell the story. Like when the TARDIS materializes, David Warner's saying a space in between 2 computer banks, big enough for, and then he stops talking, and you hear the TARDIS start to materialize. Because at that point, you don't need any more narration. The sound effects take over that, and you know what's going on. And it's wonderful stuff from Simon Gurrier there.
I feel like I've just slept on this one for so much. It feels a bit like a revelation because I really enjoy Simon Gurrier because for me, Simon Gurrier is the king of 60s Doctor Who writing.
He's done so many good early adventures.
The Outliers is another great one. What other ones has he done? Like Home Truths again, that's by Simon Gurrier. Oliver Harper trilogy, Sarah Kingdom trilogy, Sontarans as well.
Yeah, Sontarans.
That's another banger.
Yeah, I suppose he wrote another one in series 4 as well.
You had Night Witches, Outliers, Morton Legacy, or Wreck of the World. He didn't do that one. That was Timothy
Exat. Maybe he didn't do it. I suppose there was one series he did. Oh, it's this series he did too, and he did the Yes Men.
Oh yeah, the Yes Men's a brilliant one.
Yeah. So yeah, there we go. When it comes to the early adventures in Simon Gurrier now, he has no misses really. I mean, maybe the Home Guards, but I think I enjoyed that one on Realist, and it's certainly got an elephant in the room there.
Yeah, sadly.
But
like Scourge of a Cyberman, that's like a nice blend of Pertwee and 60s Cybermen. So,
I know that's one of our favourite big finishes of all time.
Yeah, favourite Cyberman story in the history of Cybermen stories. But I guess back to the black hole. I will say, part 1 is a bit of a slow burner, and I agree with yesterday, but Black Hole was fun, but took a bit to get into, and I think I agree with that completely. It's not until about part 2 where you start to get the whole sort of team up with Constable Parvo and Second Doctor.
You get a fake out ending almost, don't you? It seems like the threat's resolved at the end of part 2, but really it's just beginning. And then part 3 is where it gets really interesting.
Because I was going to say part 1 feels like a part 3 and part 2 feels like a part 4. In a way. It just felt like that when I was listening to it. It felt more like, oh, right, we're the middle of a story already.
Yeah. But I'm not sure, actually, because for me, like we say, it feels more like a slow burn. And so, it feels like a lot of stuff. It feels like we're just waiting to get to that cliffhanger a lot of the time.
Yeah. I will say part 2's cliffhanger. Poor old Victoria. She doesn't know what a meddling monk is.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's kind of a bit of a waste to think it's more like, here's this one for the audience, really.
Yeah. But, well, I mean, maybe the monk's overestimating his importance. Maybe the Doctor probably talks about me all the time to his companions, says, I have this great enemy called the monk.
I mean, I will say, it's a bit of a shame that Troughton never got a monk story, because I think those two work so well together.
Yeah, they play off each other nicely in this story.
Especially in part 3. I think that's great.
Also, re-listening to this has also helped not improve the Outlaws, but it sort of made me realise something about it that I wasn't as sure about before. Because I thought the Black Hole is the first time the Second Doctor meets Rufus Hound's incarnation of the monk. But actually, the reason he doesn't recognise him as the monk is because of that ring, isn't it? Which helped. So that sort of explains how the first Doctor can meet this incarnation of the monk, and then the Second Doctor doesn't recognise him. Yeah, so
I just think it's a really cleverly constructed story, actually. Like how it all
so many
links.
clever twists.
I
think maybe that's it, because it is much more timey-wimey, and you don't get that in any 60s Who, really. And so when we went to it with the early adventures back in the day, we were very much hoping for proper authentic 60s, and this didn't quite live up to that for us compared to the Yes Men and the Forsaken.
Even ISOS Network has that sort of target feel. But going back to that point we said before we started going live, but the Black Hole does a hellbent. It has a male Time Lord regenerating into a female, and this was literally, I think, a couple of days or weeks before Hellbent actually aired.
I think Hellbent was December 2015, wasn't it? And this came out November.
So I guess when this came out, we were in our teenage sort of edgelord phase, going, oh no, but now the landscape has changed with that. But we've got our first female Doctor.
Yeah, we've grown a lot more as people since maybe back then. That probably did colour our view of this story more than we'd care to admit, sadly.
I think we've just grown to accept that's part of the show now, really.
Grown to accept that we were a bit silly back in the day.
Absolutely.
Sillier, more edgy opinions.
Yeah, and hopefully now we can discuss our edgy thing and go, God, weren't we cringe?
Yeah, I imagine there are probably... I don't know whether either of us uploaded any reviews of the Black Hole, but if you really wanted to look back far enough, you probably can hear us say something cringy that we now very much regret. But we don't stand by anything like that anymore, thankfully.
But this story does have great 60s feel to it, in the sense of, especially when the TARDIS is entering the Black Hole. Like, the thing what 60s Doctor Who gets right is when the TARDIS is in space and you get that wonderful sort of eeriness of space. This story replicates that in the sound design wonderfully.
Yeah. You've also got some wonderful sequences that feel very 60s. Like, there's one where they're in a room and a computer bank's on fire, and Doctor and Jamie are struggling to hold the door open, and you could very much imagine like that sliding door from a 60s set going across as they're grabbing it. And yeah, that feels like a wonderfully authentic Troughton sequence. So, and I think that's more where our heads are at now when it comes to authenticity. It doesn't have to feel exactly like something that would be made in the 60s. It just has to have enough elements to it while also still being original.
It can have a loose structure, but as long as all the hallmarks are there in some capacity, I think we're fine with it, really.
Yeah. It very much helps you to vibe with it. So yeah, I'd say really pleasantly surprised by this one. I think I still have some issues with part 4, but certainly it's not as bad as I remember it being.
I'm not a fan of like is it the Sieve or whatever the alien?
Yeah, they're one of the things that I remember disliking, and on this re-listen, I'm still not a huge fan of them. Again, it's partially that they don't feel very 60s.
They feel like they belong in like a past Doctor Adventure book, like the Salations. They sort of fit that type of monster.
They remind me of that thing that was in Dark Universe.
I'm trying to think now.
Like those creatures from the other, yeah, because of like the white, weird, slimy skin.
Yeah, I know what you mean now.
Yeah, but they also give me in this fun, a Stranger Things Demogorgon vibe.
Yeah,
because like the mouth, well, the Demogorgon's like 5 petals. This is mentioned as like 3 opening bits, isn't it?
Like a Y, isn't it? I think that
they say. Yeah, and it's like a face with no features or anything, just one giant opening mouth in 3 places. But funny enough, this is before Stranger Things, so
maybe Stranger Things are a fan of the black hole, like we are now.
Well, I think they'd have been made around the same time, actually. So
yeah, maybe
because Stranger Things came out like July 2016, so I think would have been filming back in like summer 2015. This would have been.
But I feel they did a nice video trailer in 2014, and Fraser Hines talking about the early adventures in that as well. So I feel like they probably bulk recorded them, like the first 2 series.
Yeah, I mean, let's have a look at the recording date actually. 22nd to 23rd of May 2015. This one 6 months before exactly it came out.
Oh, okay.
But
another thing I like, what Stylish wants to point out, is like the analog walls. That's a really nice concept.
Yeah, I love just hearing that. It's similar to something that Robert Holmes and Rusty Davis do very well. Just mentioning something in a name, like the Medusa Cascade and lines like that, or in Talons of Wing Chiang, where you have about the storming of Reykjavik or whatever. There's something like the whole World War V stuff there. I can't remember any exact lines from it, but yeah, the Analog Wars certainly gives that world building vibe. It's a nice little title, and I think I remember us both saying at the time, would it be nice to get a story about that?
Yeah, because we're just needy back the gun guard. That sounds more of an interesting story than the black hole, but yeah, maybe not. I'm all for the black hole now.
Yeah. Should we talk about Rufus Hound's Monk?
Yeah, I think this is another revelation.
Go ahead.
I thought he was actually really good in this one. I think maybe because he's playing 2 characters. I don't feel like it's a spoiler sailing it because it's been out nearly 7 years. But I think we said before we started, but Rufus Hound, it's wrong to say somber, but there's more of there's not less.
He's calmer, I guess.
Yeah,
he's still quite out there, but not to the extent he later will be.
He's restrained in this. I think he's more restrained. He's not like when you get to Rise of the New Humans, he's very much flamboyant, quite bombastic. Whereas here he's quite I don't want to say calm and calculative, but he's got things going there, but he does have moments of outburst.
Yeah. But he's very fun in this.
Yeah, I did enjoy him a lot, actually.
Yeah. I mean, I quite like his incarnation wherever it's at, really. But yeah, certainly it was fun revisiting where he started and seeing how he's evolved in the role since then. And yeah, certainly I loved that twist partway through. I got a real kick out of that upon first listening to it, and even now I think it's still a twist that holds up very well.
Yeah, I think even because you get so invested in Constable Parvo, and you're like, oh, seems like such a sweet old man. But yeah, something completely different.
Yeah.
But you don't realise how dark the monk is, especially in like part 3 when he's dealing with the actual Constable Parvo.
Yeah, he doesn't like getting his hands dirty, does he? But it's very much taking that from the Time Meddler. His like view of things is that people will die anyway. He just doesn't necessarily want to be the one to do it, but he's happy to let people die for his cause.
Yeah.
But he's a bit squeamish when it comes to it in person. I mean, you see that a lot in part 4 as well.
I feel like there's quite an animalistic nature to his monk, especially when he's dealing with Parvo in part 3. I think there's definitely that sort of fight or flight survivor type thing within him. Bit like a wounded beast, as Russell said recently to a certain thing.
Yeah, something a bit more devious than the monk, perhaps. But yeah, he is. It's an interest. He's not a straight up villain like the Master necessarily is. He's certainly selfish. He's certainly doing things for the wrong reasons, but he's not as fully evil, is he? There's some redeeming qualities to him. I mean, with dealing with the real Constable Parvo in what he sees as killing him, it's not because he enjoys killing. It's not because he wants Parvo dead. It's just because this might be a bit awkward if you told people about what I'm up to. So it's just like, you got to go, I'm afraid, mate.
Again, this is another thing what I quite like. It deals with a theme in the war games. It starts to bring in the Time Lords within it. I know people are probably against that because the war games, again, a bit of a sacred story for people. But I like that we sort of get the Second Doctor's fear for the Time Lords, and I guess ultimately it makes the war games more impactful. Going, oh, he escaped them once. Now he's got to face it now.
Yeah, I mean that was quite a nice scene where Victoria stands up to him about him running away. That's part 1.
Yeah. That's a wonderful bit. Yeah.
I think it's something that I think makes this story a Victoria story and not a Zoe story. Because sometimes you feel like you could substitute either of them and it works. But with this, I don't think something like that would have suited Zoe as well. I think this much more suits Victoria.
Yeah, I can see that. Just the idea of like the Second Doctor running away just this once, they've got it all under control.
Him having control of TARDIS for a little while as well, going on some adventures with Jamie.
I like how it sort of references the 2 Doctors. I do like that.
Yeah.
So I guess if you wanted to, if you're marathoning it, you could literally do first 2 parts of Black Hole, then 2 Doctors, because there's a nice little reference in like part 3 about meeting your future self. Like, you can't do that, and it's like, oh, I think it's quite lovely actually.
Yeah.
Which was quite nice.
Yeah, and I think part 3 as well, when things start to become clear about what's happening, is fairly. There's that wonderful scene where the original incarnation of Parvo is like going around on the ship while everyone's frozen, and the Second Doctor and Jamie have to freeze, and the Second Doctor's like can't decide how to what pose to strike as he's frozen, and then Parvo just like looks at where the Doctor ends up pointing, and he's just baffled by it, but just assumes, oh, these humans, they're a bit odd, aren't they? And walks off.
Yeah, to me, that's just like perfect Second Doctor distilled, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
in the end, yeah. Yeah. It's also, I do like how part 3 plays out and sort of gives you the extra context for things. Because you're expecting a different villain reveal at first.
Yeah, what
With a
do you think
certain
it was going to
moment with
be?
Flail. I did remember that it was actually the second Doctor and Jamie on this
Oh, I
re-listen.
didn't.
So that caught you off guard.
Yeah,
I
I was
remember
trying
that
to
little
remember.
moment. Yeah. Yeah, nevertheless, the way it's played out is very well done. And I can't remember who I thought it was going to be the first time, but yeah, that it gets you looking the other way, doesn't it, before the big monk reveal?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, because you don't expect it for what they actually do in the story.
So I suppose, should we give it a rating now?
Yeah, we can do.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, Stylish One seems to be enjoying this in the chat a lot. It's like you're dying to say "I told you so," aren't you, Stylish One? When it comes to this story, because we've been quite rude to it, I suppose, over the last few months.
But again,
like,
this is
"No,
the
it's one of
joy.
the best." Yeah.
This is the joy of doing these streams, but we can, and the collection box as well. It gives you a chance to reevaluate, reappraise, and go, well, maybe I was wrong. And in this case, I'm happy to say I was wrong.
Yeah. And it's like much better to have this kind of "I was wrong" because it means we get an extra story we now enjoy, as
Yeah,
opposed to, you know, having a
what you think
story
I don't
really
like.
like going back to that and then finding out it wasn't as good as we once thought it might have been.
Yeah, it's a nice pleasant surprise, actually.
Yeah.
Nice pleasant surprise. But I will say part 1 is a bit of a slow burner. But I did, once you get past that, and again, I think there's a dip in part 4 with like the monsters.
Yeah,
But I still think I'd still say it's an 8 out of 10.
I may go an 8.5 actually.
You know what? I'll go 8.5 as well. Actually, yeah.
There we go. Yeah, it's not quite a 9, but I feel like 8's a bit too low.
So, I think I prefer this to Wrath of the Ice Warriors.
Yeah, same. Yeah, I think definitely I enjoyed this more than Beyond War Games as a whole. So it's nice to get
Which is no slight on Beyond War Games, because I think that's a very different beast.
Yeah, that's true. Even though they're both dealing with the Season 6B idea in a way, Beyond War Games is certainly doing it very differently. And like, it's also full cast, so it does have a different flavour to it.
Yeah.
The stylish person says, "Woo, you've come around to this audio and Rufus Hound as the monk. I love Rufus Hound. He's my favourite villain performance in Doctor Who, and his monk is my favourite Time Lord villain incarnation."
I'm warming to him. I wouldn't say I'm fully converted yet. I'll give Rise of the New Humans a go and see where I stand. But I definitely prefer Rufus Hound, more restrained than out there in your face.
Stylish person says, "I said when you did the tier list for the early adventures how much I love this story, as did many other people, and was happy to hear you've given it. You'd give it another go. I'm so glad you love it. Yes. Thank you for pushing us back to this."
Yeah, and I just want to give a little throw to yesterday. Have to bounce. Take care. See you all guys next time. Thank you for the $5, New Zealand dollars. That's our first ever super chat. So thank you very much. Appreciate that.
Thank you to yesterday.
Yeah, if you want us to review a story yesterday, if you're watching this back yesterday, and there's a story you want us to review in favor of donating some money, give us a story and we'll review it for this lovely super chat.
Bribery works, guys.
Bribery works. Yeah, we're shills. But yeah, thank you very much. Appreciate that. Every bit of money we get goes to a channel, whether that be in buying Big Finish or upgrading equipment.
Getting another collection set.
Another collection set for an unboxing. So it's all full circle, to quote a Doctor Who story. So thank you yesterday. Appreciate that a lot.
Stylish person also says, "Now to get Luke to like power and evil of the Daleks." No, we will see. We will see.
Yeah, we'll definitely see about something on that thing. Yeah.
Oh, and Mr. Monk Cactus is also heading off now. Sorry, we didn't quite see that there. But thank you for joining us, Mr. Monk Cactus. Always a pleasure having you in the chat.
Thank you for joining.
Yeah, good night. Necromantia says, I gave it 9 out of 10 in my marathon. Just wish to see if had more of an impact. Yeah, they're sort of just there to be a generic monster attack, really, aren't they? Like they're just there for that final part to add a bit of extra threat. It's more the monk going on before that.
Yeah.
And I think the monk's definitely the main.
It's just trying to propel the story, isn't it? It's just going to try and find another twist to give it more momentum, I think.
I'm also not sure about the idea of the monk being paid. And like this race from another dimension paying the monk, that did seem a bit.
Because he has overheads? I don't know. Yeah,
like I prefer the monk where he's more like doing these things similar to what he is in the time method, where he's trying to change history for the better by doing horrible things earlier on. Yeah, I'm just having a look at our early adventures tier list to see where we put this last time.
I think it's got a bit. Maybe I feel like you probably restrained me.
I'm not sure if I restrained you that much
though. While you do that, Stylish Person said, "What do you think of Simon Gurry confirming on Twitter that Parvo is meant to be an early incarnation of the Master, but actually fits into continuity from books and comics? Personally, I love it."
Yeah, I remembered that when I was listening to this, and you had the hypnosis moment with Victoria, and then again it happens later. But yeah, go on.
I remember, there's the Dark Path with, I think, is it Coscienti or something like that. I still stand by my thing of Delgado is where it's at for the Master. For me, that's just my own headcanon, really. I think that's just my own pettiness.
In this, it feels weird that he/she, but they wouldn't recognize the Doctor. Well, actually, it is just she, because the male incarnation of Parvo never sees the Doctor, or does actually, but doesn't interact verbally. You know what I mean? You know what I'm getting at? Or actually, no, they do. Sorry, I'm just going way off base there.
Again, going back to the black hole, I like the idea in the TARDIS where a Time Lord can steal another person's TARDIS if their TARDIS has been destroyed.
Yeah, I like their they're higher ranking, aren't they? In the in chapter 9, I think it is, they have that ability to commandeer, really. But yeah, I think it's a nice little not quite fan theory, because obviously it's Simon Gurria's own little headcanon, I suppose. But it's a nice little thing for experiments, similar to the War Chief being the Master. But in practice, I just prefer to wave it aside, I suppose.
I get what they do with the War Chief, because it has the same sort of similar suit to Delgado, got the little goatee thing, and there's that wonderful scene, isn't there, between the Second Doctor and the War Chief in, I think, part 8, isn't it?
It's just that thing of, surely, since they're childhood friends, surely they'd recognise each other. And also, I'm not sure it fits with where things go in stories like the Blood of the Time Lords.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure I feel about the Master having once been a policeman.
Yeah. It doesn't fit his character. He just goes rogue and goes, look at this. I'm going to cause havoc.
But I can see where it's at with the hypnosis, and I think that was quite some nice scenes involving that.
But yeah, again, it's a bit like Blood of a Time Lord when they mentioned that the Drufus Master is the most evil because, he's like a child. And I'm like, no, he's not. He's quite tame. Compared to Jacoby, he's a little pussycat.
He's more nasty than full-on evil, isn't he? The Drufus Master. He's more. He's a bit more unlikable when he's evil, whereas Jacoby in particular, when he's being evil, you revel in it.
But that's sort of the highlight. The highlight when Jacoby just goes off on a like little spree.
Yeah. It's like you feel bad for liking him because he's being so evil.
Yeah.
The War Chief saying, "Man is the most vicious species of all" is a very Mask-esque thing to say. Yeah, that is very true.
Yeah.
So we're pretty much all wrapped up here, aren't we?
Yeah, it's pretty much just all done.
Stream.
It's been fun. It's been fun doing this one. It's great to have all you lovely people in the chat talking to us all about Beyond War games and just home truths. Yeah, really enjoyed this one. Been a lot of fun. Not that I don't enjoy them, but I've had a lot of fun with this one in particular. It's been
particularly
nice
revisiting and reappraising the Black Hole as well. Oh, I forgot. I did find where that was. We put it 4th out of 6th tier down when we did our early adventures. I'd say it's certainly now gone up to 2nd, at least.
Yeah, I'd say so. Yeah.
I feel like there's some stuff in the top tier that just feels so good, so much fun, that I don't think I'd quite put it in on the same level as then, but certainly it's very good. Startless Press, we did the news before you arrived, I'm afraid. We loved the what's it? Kaleidoscope cover. Yeah.
It was just a discussion over that, and a little. There wasn't much news. It's just 9th Doctor and 3rd Doctor news, really. But yeah, both excited for those things.
Necromantia says Dreyfus is amazing in the Home Guard when he's walking emotionlessly through the destruction he's caused in the final part. Really made me see Jacoby in him. Fair enough. I quite liked him early in the Home Guard, like the scenes in the bomb shelter with Jamie, Polly, and Ben. I think that was some quite very Delgado stuff there.
I think the music's very close to replicating Delgado's theme in that.
Yeah, that's particularly when he's doing the hypnosis, isn't it?
Yeah, it's sort of a shame. I wonder if we ever do get Delgado, which I think we will, whether we'll get a recreation of that theme, because I think you kind of have to have those two together.
Yeah. Did you ever finish the Home Guard? No. I think. Did you get to part 2 and then stop, or not even?
I think I got halfway through.
Yeah.
And it just didn't click with me. And I'm one of those people. If I'm not enjoying it, why waste my time in the nicest possible way when I could be enjoying another story? And find a new favorite.
But then at the same time, you feel like I've spent money on this.
I spent money on it.
I want to get my money's worth and actually listen.
But I feel like I got my money's worth out of Daughter of the Gods. You know.
Yeah, so you got twice as much value from that. Yeah. To be fair, with Home Guard, I feel like the first half is the better half as well. So if you didn't enjoy that, I can't see you enjoying this. I can't see it winning you over with the second half.
I mean, maybe I should revisit it at some point. But I think you're very much coloured by the actor, really, and I think that doesn't really help.
Yeah. Necromantia says, I think he comes across as a very juvenile master, which suits it well. Yeah, you definitely get that a lot in Blood of the Dalek. Blood of the Time Lords. Sorry, in particular. I think you see his juvenileness.
I think Blood of the Time Lord is my favourite James Dreyfus story. I think out of all of them, I think for me.
Yeah, I mean, we've only got 4, haven't we?
Yeah. And I'd say each story doesn't really need him personally. I feel like he's one of those sort of disposable elements, but that's just me.
Well, he's been disposed of now. We aren't using him anymore, thankfully. But hopefully we get Milo Parker's younger master in his place at some point.
Oh, he's brilliant. I love Milo Parker's master.
Sludge Person says, I personally love Parvo as a character and my own headcanon as to how they're the master. I do quite like them as a character in Black Hole. I think there's that nice bending of the rules there when it comes to the Doctor.
Again, I think this is a wonderful thing about Doctor. We have our own headcanon. We will have our own takeaways and advantages and disadvantages about stories, and I think that's what makes Doctor Who such a great thing to discuss, because there's such a wide variety of opinions.
Such a vast tapestry, isn't it, of storytelling, that you can have different takes and different views on it.
As long as you can articulate it and be respectful at the same time, it's all good, you know.
Yeah.
And we're all about different opinions, just to get a wider variety and more of an opinion really on a release, but just our own little go. Did you like that one? Yeah, it's all right. Yeah, me too.
And I mean,
and move it on, really.
If people in the chat didn't share their own opinions on stories such as the Black Hole, we probably wouldn't have ended up revisiting it and reappraising it, really. So we very much are indebted to you in the chat for helping us see the light when it comes to the Black Hole, ironically enough.
And it did the time dilation thing before World Enough in Time. So I thought it was quite interesting. But yeah, good. Yeah,
it plays into that, doesn't it? But
really
it does it in a different way. I wonder what's the more scientific way.
I want to say Capaldi.
Yeah, with like the way it's slower. I mean, either way, I'm sure there's like a physicist who will look at it and say, "Oh no, both of them are total bollocks." But I feel like the Capaldi one might be slightly less bollocks.
I think so, because I think it was the idea come from one of Moffat's sons, because he was studying like physics.
Yeah, I mean, it is like the way gravity affects time as well, isn't it? So it makes sense.
Yeah,
I'm not sure it makes sense for a spaceship to be that close to a black hole, but nevertheless.
Yeah. Would have fun with a Stranger Things-esque audio series with Young Master and Young Rani. That'd be an interesting thing to explore. Could even show the Ravenous to horrify the Master and the Rani. I mean, we got the Master being horrified by the space continuum in what is it? Sound of Drums, isn't it?
Yeah.
I
think he was quite scared. Yeah. He wasn't too big a fan of the Ravenous in Ravenous Day of the Master, so
no, he had to chew it over, really. Yeah. But I think that's pretty much us wrapped up for tonight. So thank you everyone for joining. Thank you for all your lovely messages in the chat. Thank you yesterday for the super chat. Appreciate it. We'll see you next week. Maybe we can start doing them early. Maybe doing it early is the key.
Yeah, maybe so.
Yeah. Maybe we start at 7 o'clock. Yeah, we've cracked it. So yeah, we'll be back next week, hopefully at 7 o'clock, and we'll talk about the Fourth Doctor Series 11, which arrived in the post, where 9 did today. So it's nice to have that all on the shelf.
I got mine. Yeah, got mine yesterday. So
oh, you got yours.
It's weird, isn't it, having the extra thickness?
Yeah, I was like, it's going to be this big chunky box, and I realised it's going to be the same size as like Dalek Universe and Eccleston.
Yeah, but it is chunky for Big Finish at this point. It's as big as they get, isn't it?
At this, this current moment in time, for sure. Do it early and bait the spammers early. Yeah, good point. Let's weed out the spammers.
Yeah. We seem to get more spammers coming on early. That's one thing.
I mean, hey, each their own. Each their own, really.
Still technically engagement on the channel, so
it's a win-win.
Algorithm.
It's a win-win. But yeah, I think that's pretty much us done for tonight. Nice way to revisit a Second Doctor story and talk about where the Second Doctor was and where he's going.
Yeah, it's just waiting a year now for the next Second Doctor Adventures set,
which is the real stinger, really. And much like the First Doctor thing, you feel like there's a lot of potential there. I need more. It's like how we were when Tim first started.
Yeah, I mean, it's where we are still with Tim now, really. We finished the Annihilator, like, come on, give us Kaleidoscope now. We need more.
Yeah.
It's Big Finish in general. We just need more. And then our wallets probably aren't in agreement with us there.
As the great one says, I thirst for it. I ache for it. But yeah.
Then when you look at your bank account, you're doing the it hurts.
My mind. Oh, there we go. Gotta love Planet Spiders.
Yeah.
But yeah, thank you everyone for joining us, and we shall see you next week. Take care, everyone.